You are now listening to the Serious Growth Podcast with your host, Leo Costa Jr.
Welcome to Serious Growth Podcast, where the truth is told. On today's show, we have Dushawn White. Dushawn, thanks for coming on.
All right, no problem.
How are we doing today?
Invited me.
Yeah, right on. Hey, listen, did we meet? Because I met a lot of people in Vegas. Did you come to our booth, or did we meet in Vegas?
Yeah, I stopped by. We had a conversation. I think I did your pull-up challenge there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
a lot of the athletes,
a
a lot of the athletes ended up when a small group like that, when one finds out that there's a place to warm up, you get a crowd throughout the weekend, so we had quite a few people. Yeah. I talked to so many people that I wasn't sure if we actually talked or how did you do? I know you sent me your bio here. How exactly did you do in Vegas? Let's see. You won first place, right?
Yeah. I did a junior masters in Vegas.
Now, is a junior master because I know they have a lot of different categories. Is that like classic physique, or which category were you competing in?
Oh, I did basically 39 and under.
Oh, okay.
And that was open for 39 and under.
Okay, you're a fitness model.
I mean, you could say that. Competing bodybuilder, fitness, kind of all genres. I've done.
So you've crossed the categories.
Yeah. I've done men. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Now, see, I've done bodybuilding, men's physique.
Yeah.
I've done some modeling too.
Oh, okay. And is there a category that two questions here, A and B question. Is there a category that you prefer to compete in? And what is your body most suited for as far as these categories? Would you say?
I started, when I was younger, I think the first show I ever done was men's physique. And also I was modeling when I was 18. But as I got bigger, I think I kind of evolved into bodybuilding.
Oh, okay.
So now I would say definitely bodybuilding now, because I used to walk around it. I think 155, 160.
Yeah.
And I went up to 170, 180. So now I'm at 190.
Oh, okay.
So I think bodybuilding now.
So how many years have you been bodybuilding?
Competing?
Yeah.
As a competitor, 7 years.
7 years. And were you, prior to all this, maybe if I just keep reading were you an athlete, and did you play the traditional sports? How was that for you when you were younger?
I pretty much played all sports. I started playing baseball at 7.
Yeah.
Football all the way up through high school, all the way through City College. I got an invite to UCLA junior year. We did trials there. I came back. I ended up tearing my ACL, having some problems with that. Other than that, I could just continue to play.
Yeah.
And that somewhat involved into bodybuilding, just because I maintained my shape.
Yeah.
So I think that there was a lot of people at that time like, hey, you should compete. But at the time, I really wasn't into it. I was just overall health, trying to rehabilitate my knee. It evolved into doing the show.
I'm curious to know I'm going to assume you played either running back or you played DB.
Both.
Ah.
Yeah. Running back on offense and DB on defense. Yeah.
When you're telling me you have a knee, I would say, of course I'm just guessing, but based on what you told me about your body weight, it's not that big of a guess to know that you probably played one of those specialty positions. Yeah. I'm always. So did you have to end up playing like the junior college there in Sacramento?
Yeah. I ended up going to junior college and playing there. Yeah.
Did you play at Sac State?
I went to Sac State. My junior year, I was there. I played half the season. I just couldn't shake my injuries. I stayed on the team. I kept training, but unfortunately, I had to walk away. Just more or less focus on my education.
Yeah.
Because I still had so my partial scholarship offer out of high school, so I was able to pay some fees when I got to Sac State too.
Oh, okay. Well, way back in the prehistoric days, because I'm way older than you, I played junior college in my hometown here, and Sac State was in our league. Sac State, there was like 3 different Sacramento teams that we played, and so Sac State was one of them. So I played in your bowl where you played your home games many moons ago.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, I'm always interested in knowing. So I assume that when you were playing football, that you were training, And how did you just initially learn just to lift? Not bodybuilding, but just how did you get into just lifting, period?
Oh, lifting in general?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That I think that goes back to the historic days too for me. Uh, it just I think that it became a passion really young, at an early age. I think earlier than most people would imagine it, just because I think the psychological effects you get from it.
Yeah.
Looking back to how it all started, I mean, I came from a pretty broken household. Both parents substance abuse, CPS, kind of foster homes, went from house to house. So it was kind of hard for us, and we didn't really attach to nobody. And then
Yeah.
one of my uncles got out of state prison. I think I seen him probably for the first time at like 9 years old, and he just looked like, I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. It was almost like a shock when he got out of jail. You know how guys were coming out back in the 80s.
Like ripped, right? And big, right?
Yeah, shredded, just
Yeah.
shredded, just big,
Yeah.
everything showing.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, he could have literally walked from Folsom Prison straight to the stage.
Right.
That's how shredded he was.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be like that. So I see him at my grandparents' house, and he was doing push-ups every day, squat jumps, and dips off the couch. And I would do that behind his back. So I would see him do that, and he would leave, and I would try to do that.
Yeah.
And I just kind of kept it going until he caught me one day, and he kind of told me, this will help me in my life. And it just went on. I just never stopped from there. I just developed the motivation. I think for like my 13th birthday, I asked my grandparents for a weight bench, and they were like, a weight bench?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And they bought a weight bench for me. I continued to lift throughout that time. I think when I turned about 17, I had a conversation with my uncle, and I was like, yeah, I'm still trying to get like you, man. I'm not there yet. And he said, yeah, we need to talk. And he talked to me. He said, hey, man, I just wanted to tell you that I always want you to stay natural. And I was like, I didn't even know we were having a conversation. But then he told me, he said, when I was on the inside, I was using substances. But he told me he never used actual drugs. So I was like, at that time, and he was like, well, steroids, he had used them. But he told me all the problems. He lined out everything. Here's the pros, it's the cons. He
Yeah.
was like, all the cons, I think hurt us more than helped us. And it kind of, I think that conversation was valuable to me because it kept me in my lane, I think. And he told me just to, always have a purpose as far as, he said, if you want to be a pilot, you can't be scared of heights, or,
Right.
So if you want to go to Olympics in this area, then you have to do, you have to do it. But if you don't, you want to stay an athlete in your lane, do that. So
Right.
in my mind, I just stayed there. I stayed as an athlete. In my mind, I'm still a football player. So when I'm conditioned for the sports, I'm still hitting stairs all the time. I'm still jump roping. I'm on punching bags, all those forms of cardio. But it just started there. Like that started, even my peers then that I'm still friends with now, we still bring it up every now and then. Like, man, you been working out since you was little, and now it was just kind of crazy to them.
Yeah. Well, and something that's really, really strikes me, you never know in this life where you learn. Cause how old are you, if you don't mind me asking you?
I'm 39.
39. And I'm going to be 65 here in a couple of days. Okay. And a couple of months, I should say. But something, you just never know where your life lessons come from. And who would have thought that and this is my opinion based on what you're telling me, who would have thought that your life lesson and somebody who gave you some really sound and smart advice just got out of prison?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing to me, I mean, it really is, because who would think that, on the front of it. And yet what your uncle told you was some powerful stuff, man. And here's the even better news as far as I'm concerned. You took that information and you made something good out of that. Because how many people never do that? They get valuable information, but they choose not to pay attention to that. And you through your, obviously you looked up your uncle because of the fact how he looked to some degree. And so I think that with me, bodybuilding, and I've talked to lots of people now in this sport, bodybuilding to a degree saved your life. Bodybuilding to a degree saved my life. It's another story that, I don't have to tell because this is about your story. But I just find it fascinating that your uncle actually played such a huge role in your life, and you just took it and ran with it in a very smart way, in my opinion. So kudos to you, man. You know,
Thank you.
because really think about it. You actually, I come from a broken home, but I didn't have anything that's near as bad as you're expressing to me. So you had a negative against you, more than one negative against you right from the get-go. And, you know, you're living proof that just because that happens to someone doesn't mean that you have to turn out in a bad way, you know? I mean, you're, I don't know if you know this, but you're an inspiration already to a lot of people. You're an inspiration to me because I know how much work it takes to stay in your lane and to get this thing right. So, you know, there's a lot that goes into that. And I would say that most people don't even know that, you know? I know. And, you know, I give you a big thumbs up, man. Seriously. Okay.
I appreciate it.
You bet. So then he really is the one that got you going. Did you ever ask him, because I'm curious to know, it's interesting that they were able to get the juice inside prison, you know? It's amazing. Oh, wow. Okay. But did you ever like wonder, I mean, he gave you the information, like don't go and don't use, but did you ever like inquire like what his actual routine is? I think you told me some of the stuff that he was doing, but did you ever ask like, how did you get like that?
Yeah. So it's one of the things that I think I still do to this day. He said that when you lift heavy weights, and I still lift heavy weights. But he said that you get so sore that you can't do the same thing every day. And I actually, you know, I worked in the institution for 6 years. I'm not currently there anymore, but I actually worked as a counselor inside the institution. So I've seen some of the ways they do it firsthand too.
Oh, that's good to know.
And they do the same thing every day, pretty much.
Yeah.
Every single day. So he was doing 1,000 push-ups a day, 1,000 squats a day, 1,000, you know, burpees a day, 1,000 crunchies a day. And for me, I was like, man, that's kind of crazy. But he was like, you know, you condition to it like everything else. He was like, you know, you run every day, you condition it every day. You box at the bag every day. And he was like, if you do the math, with somebody who's doing the same thing every day versus once a week or twice a week, you're going to get more gains. And he said, I've been seeing guys do it for years. And he said, before he went to prison, he was doing the traditional splits and all of that.
Yeah.
In there, everybody's changing. And he made comparisons between the gym and the prison all the time. And then when I finally worked there, I was able to see it too. And I understand that a lot of people have more time inside the prison system, but everybody still with time doesn't mean you're going to work out though.
Right, exactly.
Because I know, you know, you have time, you want to do what you want to do. So they still have free time to do whatever they want, other things to do. There's a lot of things, a lot more to do in there people think.
Right. But
the ones who do work out in there, they do the same things. And I've noticed in like a year's time, I could see a guy's whole body change. And I'm like, man, you know, this whole body. Where when you go to the gym, I think people's strength areas change first. So if you're like, you have your chest may be genetically, you know, you grow faster in the chest area, or you grow faster in the leg area. Everything comes around, but some things just may come a little bit faster.
Yeah.
When you're getting that extra work every day, and that's something that I do, and it's not excessive, but I still will do a mild form every day, even if I do just one leg exercise, just leg extensions on chest day, or, you know, some back pulls on on leg day.
Right.
Just to stay in tune with more reps.
Yeah. Let me interject if I could, because, you know, in the industry, as you know, there's always been this debate, which is the best way to put on muscle, lifting more weight or doing more reps. And the prison system just told you what the best way is, you know. And one of the things I learned about Dushawn, when I went back years ago in the late 80s, I went to Bulgaria, believe it or not. Now, mind you, at this point, these are athletes that are there Olympic lifting. So they weren't into bodybuilding, even though they have the information. The coaches that I met with were just really, they had a lot of foresight, you know. They had some really good information. And they said back then, they said, look, when you're lifting with more reps, the specific gains are going to be muscle gains, with a secondary benefit being strength gain. And they said, if you lift more weight, like they were doing, the Olympic lifters obviously were just to see who can lift the most weight in those three lifts. Well, the main benefit in a strength program is to get stronger And the secondary benefit is to put on muscle. And the prison, your uncle and those guys, the way they were training inside the prison, that was all volume-based conditioning. Volume over intensity. Intensity being the thing. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't think there's any debate, to be honest with you. I'm talking about this being specific. You know, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get bigger by lifting. But so many guys think that the way to get huge is to lift more weight. And that's not based on physiology and the way your body responds to conditioning. That's not the case. And they, in the prison system, kind of proved my point, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, would you agree with that, or do you have other thoughts on that?
No, I agree. And I just to be honest, 100%. I think there's a little bit of pride that comes with the gym. You know, it's more of a pride thing. I think from clients I train, being involved in the gym, there's a difference. If you're a power lifter, or you're competing in that, as far as your strength is concerned, then it's totally necessary to get under a lot of weight at all times.
Yeah, of course.
But I know deep inside, as a bodybuilder, I don't have to do half the things that I do. But deep inside of me, I think that I just want to challenge myself. It's just that inner pride of challenge. Like, hey, I'm getting older. Can I still do this?
Right.
You know, I want to try this. I want to get under this 300, this 400 pounds. I want to see what I can do.
Right.
But I know to be competitive at the sport, I don't have to. Because I know my uncle looked just as good as me any day and never did that. He said before he got locked up, he did. Before he got locked up growing up high school, he said he did the same thing. Get under 3 or 4 wheels, see who can lift the most, 1 rep, max, and all that.
Yeah.
But he said that when he hit the next level, you know, it wasn't any of that involved. And I know that from experience, when I can train, because it's almost like training your mind to do that, you know, because I'm a sprinter, so I have to train my mind to run a long distance. So if I say I want to run a couple miles a day, it's more challenging than running up the stairs, even though somebody would tell you, man, up the stairs is way harder.
Yeah.
But the intensity's higher.
Right.
So I can lift with a certain intensity and feel good about it, but it's hard for me to grab 30-pound weights and curl 20 reps.
Right.
Put, 225 and just keep doing reps all day. That it almost bores me, man.
Well, it is. Yeah, and it's mind-numbing. And this is one of the things that people don't really, they like the idea of bodybuilding, but they really don't understand, because it is more based on volume. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do a combination of the two where you lower your volume, but the truth of the matter is, because Dushawn, I've seen this over the years. I've been in Gold's Gym at the Mecca down there. I know what's going on down there, even though sometimes in the magazines they're talking about something different, but I know what's going on down there. And the truth of the matter is, bodybuilding is a type of sport that you have to be able to tolerate boredom, because like you said with your uncle, you're doing the same thing day in and day out. That's bodybuilding right there, right?
Yeah. And he used to nag at me for that, man. Like, we'll do push-ups at the house, and I try to put a weight bag on, or I'll say, let's go to the bench. And he's like, no, do 50. And he want to do 50 again and again and again. I'm like, man, but he told me, if you really want to build it, you have to do that. And I think the most awakening event that I had was, and I know people like to say, hey, when I was this age, I used to do that, I used to do this and that, but there's a real statistic. When I was at Sac State, I was squatting 5 wheels, so as a running back. So I was squatting 5 wheels there with a partially torn ACL.
Wow.
And I'll tell you this, and when I was at City, it was the same thing all the way to Cordova High School. So everybody that played with me can validate everything that I'm saying. I mean, you're not on the team by yourself. I got a lot of athletes, a lot of friends that I'm still friends with that I say, yeah, there was no social media, nothing. Sean was taking 415 to the ground for 10 reps.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, everything that I've ever done did not translate to anything when I went to bodybuilding. And it made me so mad, because I felt like all of this heavy weight that I was lifting, and in the first show that I did, I just imagined my legs being just quadzilla. And then I had, I have other peers that never did half the weight I was doing, but they was doing so many reps like that when we did the show, their legs was bigger than mine.
Right.
It was more harder than mine. I was like, wait a minute. I'm squatting 3 times the amount as this guy's squatting, but his legs are way bigger than mine. And that's where I think, you really learn when you finally cut down. You finally cut down and you realize, like, all this heavy lifting that I've been doing, does not translate to actual muscle
Right.
because it was never being stimulated. The stimulation is not there.
That's right.
Because we know with these heavy lifts, it feels good, it feels macho, prideful, whatever it is to everybody on every level.
Yep.
When you get that lift, you feel good. You hit a certain, PR, and you're feeling good about yourself. But when you cut the weight down, you're like, man, it didn't translate to any
Exactly.
size.
Yeah.
It almost makes you mad. Like, I've been in the gym for 6 months and didn't gain no size, but I'm
Right.
a lot stronger.
Right.
And I had to take myself mentally out of the athlete. So that's the thing that that I've been working on through the years. To tell myself, train like an athlete, but Sean, you're not an athlete.
Right.
So you don't have to be the strongest no more because you're not going head up with any linebackers, or you're not having to tackle anybody. So I don't have to be as strong as I used to be.
Right.
I just make myself to condition the way that I should be conditioned.
Right. And the thing about evolving as an athlete, the thing that you had in your background, like I did, I started playing sports when I was 8 years old, Little League, all that. So I can relate to what you're saying, but so you had that warrior and athletic mindset to begin with. And I think that's hugely important. But here's the thing, and here's what you've learned. You have to be willing to be open-minded enough to say, this might not be the right way to do this. And that's hard as hell to do when you've been doing something a certain way for so long. You get caught up into, that macho thing that you're talking about. But to truly evolve as an athlete, you at some point have to take a step back, and you have to trust instincts, and you have to say, what is my stated goal? And this is where you're saying, look, in bodybuilding, obviously, they're not going to judge you based on how strong you are in bodybuilding. They're not.
No.
So, but it's not. But something. It's hard. Change is hard for most people.
It's hard. Yeah.
And especially when you think that what you've been doing is the right thing to do. That's what you're talking about, being so frustrated and disappointed. When it came down to that, those are so telling. And those are really black and white examples of bodybuilding, That's cool. I really like that,
I consider myself somewhat like scientist. I like to sit down and break things down into macro parts and try to figure out why something is the way it is, right? Yeah. And we think about traditional sports, especially football. Any football combine out there, or any running back, linebacker, whatever it is, when you look at the lifting, the way you got to lift, right? So for your chest, if you look at any football player out there, 90% of us have crazy chest though. Like my chest development is crazy. People have been saying that forever. Man, look at your chest. And everybody on my team, it seemed like their chest was nice. But there was a lot of really strong running backs and really strong linebackers that didn't have big legs, but they were strong. But now you look at the way we lift though.
Yeah.
I had to recognize that. I said, okay, now when you bench press in any football weight room or any combine, you only lift 225, which is not a lot to us though.
Right.
So we're doing 20, 25, 30. Some people doing 50 reps of that.
Yeah.
And that's all we do. You see what I'm saying?
Boom.
So, there it is there. Yep, there it is there.
Yeah.
Everybody's chest is huge. But when it comes to football and squats, we're only doing 1 rep maxes.
Right.
The coaches only want you to get 2 or 3 reps. You see the psychology behind it?
Yeah, no, I do.
So when I'm in the gym now, that's how it plays out. Like I don't mind doing a lot of reps with my chest because I'm conditioned to do it.
Right.
But on my legs, I'm not. When I get down to 10 reps, over 10, I'll start getting frustrated.
Yeah.
No matter how light it is, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
So I had to take that in consideration. Even when my uncle was talking, I brought logic both ways. I'm like, okay, so that's why it's building like that. That's why we have these chests. All the football players have big chests because they only focus on reps.
That's really funny that you say that, because one of the things that the Bulgarian, like I said, I worked with I was at the national team, the best of the best in Russia, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia back then, right? So I was studying with the best. And one of the things I learned the most from the Bulgarian coaches. They were way ahead of everybody else. They're really interesting because they were, see, what you're talking about is being a student of the game. And what they were talking about back then, they said, look, instead of us relying on what's being, written in magazines or, some of these books about how you should lift weights to build muscle or to build strength, they said we went actually into the weight room. In other words, it was application versus reading the stuff that was already been written, because they thought that stuff that's being written could possibly hinder their results because they're just believing what they read.
Yeah.
So see what I mean? So what they did is they went into the weight room and they said, okay, what is the stated goal? And in their case, it was about developing the strongest men in the world. And they said, okay, so we go into this weight room. Essentially, the weight room, in the weight room is just a bunch of weights, and these are our tools that we're going to use to reach this stated goal. So what those guys did, Dushawn, is they would think outside the box. They didn't worry about if you should lift 1 rep or more reps. It was just, they tried everything and they found out what worked. And they said to the people that are doing the hypothesis, they said, look, now we know that this works because we've done it. Now you tell us why it works instead of doing the other way around. One of the things that they told me that I learned back then, they said the body becomes its function. And listen to what you're saying. Your body became its function. When you were doing the 225, banging out reps, you got a huge chest. When you were doing the lower body with strength training, you got strong legs. Your body became its function. You taught it exactly what your body adapted to. It did what it was supposed to do because you taught it that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff, but it's true,
Yeah, it's true.
So, anyway, I find that really fascinating because you're one of the few people that really, I have never talked to anybody on a podcast or anybody that really has seen that distinction so black and white. And both of us have, we've seen that. And you are a perfect example of that. Okay, sounds good. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is what transitioned you now into becoming a personal trainer? You took the next step. Like with me, for me, it was about when I started training myself, because I trained myself before I ever became a personal trainer, unlike some of these people that are out there on social media. Pretty crazy stuff that's out there with some of these people. So I wanted to learn it firsthand from the ground up. And like what you said, you wanted to know when you were doing something, you wanted to know how and why certain things were happening. I call that being a student of the game. Most people aren't. Most trainers are not a student of the game. You're one of the ones that are. Okay. So, So then what got you now, what made you take the next step to want to become a trainer?
So my passion for training started after I got injured. So since I always had a passion to actually be in shape and work out, I never actually thought about being a trainer at that time because I was still pursuing football and wanted to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And after I got injured, I went through 2 years of rehab. So during the rehab process, I pretty much learned probably everything you can learn about fitness and just your angles, the recovery process, how important it is to recover. I was just I always wanted to be the best. Probably 90% of the teams I've been on, I got MVP. So and it's because I wasn't just blessed with it. I worked hard day in and day out. And I feel like the one thing that I overlooked was rest and recovery. So I was always getting hurt because I just didn't know how to rest. And I think even nowadays, everybody's saying no days off, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Somebody told you to go to work for 7 days. No one wanted to do that. You need a day off. So, going into training, like I say, because I was going through rehab and learning the game, I started off at 24-hour fitness. And I've been doing it for 17 years. And it's way before the social media, like you said, all the crazy things that are out there and all the overnight success stories. I understand that it really is a lifestyle. It should be part of a lifestyle, and not even want results right away. I think the one thing about training people is I try to teach them that you want to learn something along the way to keep. Because
that's important. That's important, Dushawn. Absolutely.
Because when we go to school, I graduated from college, and I'll be honest, man, like the next year after I graduated, I didn't remember half the stuff, and I studied criminal justice and kinesiology and all of that. In the year after I graduated, I couldn't pass some of those tests that I passed when I was in school.
Right.
Because I rushed through it. I got the A's, I got the B's, but I rushed them. And I say in fitness, you want to learn something. So if I'm not there as a trainer or your trainer's not there, you can still do these things for the long run. You can still maintain your own health.
Right.
So I went into 24-hour fitness, and I'd done the Biggest Loser Challenge there in 2006. And I won. One of my clients lost 30 pounds, and X amount of time, and I was getting a lot of results at 24-hour fitness. And one of my supervisors called me to the back, and he was telling me like, "Hey, you're doing a good job, but your clients are getting results too fast. You're
Oh.
losing clients." Yeah, man, it was a shock. I was shocked. I was like, "Isn't that good?" But I had to realize that when you're dealing with a corporation like that, they're thinking about their revenue for the long run, not if you ever leave there and become independent, what your name looks like.
Right.
So I wanted my name to be valuable in the gym. I wanted people to know, like, man, this guy gets clients results. But they wanted you to prolong the results because they wanted to keep the clientele in. So if I get you your results in 30 days and you're like, okay, I'm done, bye, that was it.
Profits over results for the corporation.
All day. And a lot of corporations are. That's why I think the smaller independent gold gyms, independent owners are like the greatest way to go, because they're in it for the client,
Right.
And for me, I think that, because I'm a mental health counselor in my day job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that even though, in the mental health, I can't speak of this at work because it's dual relationship. So I can't really say much, but as a trainer, I talk to the mental health aspect of it more than physical, because I know, and I know that mental is everything. Like, even as far as saying I don't have time to go, that's part of that's a mental barrier too.
That's right.
Because we know that's not true. We know, like, when we were younger in high school, the girls that liked us, or the boys that liked the girls, or whatever the case, they said, "Hey, I don't got time." It was because we didn't like them.
That's right. Let's just be straight.
Let's just keep it real.
Keep it real.
Hey, if it was somebody we like, man, we'll figure out a way. We'll be on a bus. It could be raining. We'll get the umbrella. If it's somebody you like when you were growing up, you was going to get there.
That's funny.
And that's just what it is. Like, when you love to go to the gym, or you love working out, you find a way to do it.
Yeah.
But I think as we get older, it's necessary to maintain our health now. You don't want to go by force. You don't want to go by force. And I tell a lot of my, clients and my family, you want to be proactive in your health. You don't want to develop back pain or knee pains, and then you go to the gym to lose the weight. You want to always be in tune with everything.
Yeah.
I feel more injured when I'm not in the gym.
Right. Me too.
I take time off. I start feeling everything. Like, man, you got to stay in the loop.
Yeah.
And 17 years now, and I would say for the last 5 years, I'm not a public trainer anymore. I only do private.
Okay.
So I only train privately, and people that are really serious about it, because I have a job and I work a lot of hours, and just when I cut ties with being personal trainers full time, I had so many clients that I was giving clients to other trainers.
Yes.
I had to tell my clients that, hey, this guy is credible right here. You can trust him. He's in your best interest. And I was handing over clients because I had so much clientele coming from 24, leaving 24 and going to Sac Fitness out here in Sacramento. But now, like I said, it's more athletic based. I think I have more athletes now, and some weight loss clients, but more or less athletes, college athletes, and high school athletes that are trying to go to college. Just because I want to make sure that I only have time to deal with somebody who's 100% serious, and that's can sound crazy to some people, but I think that once you develop in your mind that you're ready for results, you're ready to be serious, then you're ready to go to the next level. But that's why I coach mental, because the mental is going to drive everything else.
No, I think you're right about that. One of the things I want to go back to about you're talking about, like if you really want to do something, you'll figure out a way. I talk about that. I still have one studio that I go, Dushawn, I've been training. I've been getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning for years and years and years because I'm used to that. I've developed that mindset. We talked about that, right? So I still have a studio where I have 200 clients. It's a smaller place. It's not like a 24-hour fitness. It's like 2,000 feet. So I understand what you're doing. I'm very niche market as well, just like you are. I tell some people, I said, I tell them, I go, this is not the right place for you, and I hate to turn you away, but you belong, so you don't waste anybody's time and money. You don't belong here, and I don't mean that in a bad way. But the funny thing, and what you were talking about, is when you really want to do something, you just figure out a way. And I tell people in my gym in another way, I say, you know what, the goal has to be greater than the obstacle, because there's always going to be obstacles, but you have to have a bigger goal to overcome that, because this is why most people, they fail. is because they don't have that stated goal. They don't have that motivation to, I'll do whatever it takes to get to a certain spot, whether it be a better athlete or somebody who's just in better health. Yes, surprisingly, but that's just the way it is, you know? So I think what you've done is, again, a real smart thing. My question to you is, if you had your druthers, would you want to make personal training a full-time living, like for yourself? Because I know that it was an issue working for a bigger corporation for reasons that we've talked about. But if you could choose, would you like to be a full-time personal trainer and living that lifestyle and making money as a full-time trainer?
I think it's a pretty tough question. And the reason why is because I think as a trainer, man, I have, you know how they say sometimes you could be so good at something or so passionate about something it affects the way you look at other people.
Yeah.
I think I have a bias I had to learn for myself about myself. It's like Michael Jordan. Look how good Michael Jordan is, but he sucks as a coach, though. You know, he even admitted he's not a good coach because he knows what he would do. And that's kind of the problem I have with my son sometimes. I'm like, hey, man, you know, I would do this, I would do that. And that's the one thing I think that humbling myself it becomes very challenging when I'm so focused on training. I think that me being selective with my training process, I think it helps me out a lot. And I think I truly like to train people who are motivated and are hungry because I just fuel that fire. I fuel that drive, and I guide and direct. But when I have people that I just wish I can do it for, you know, it's like, you know, I will run for you if I can. I will lift weights for you if I can. And I think that there was a lot of frustration, you know, when I worked at corporate places, because I felt like a lot of people was making excuses. Let's be honest, they're making excuses for themselves. They didn't want to run. They were challenging me all the time. It was like, you know, I'll say, your diet looks great, but let's try to reduce this mayonnaise. And reduce it? What do you mean? You know, it's what we got to do.
Yeah.
You know, you want the results. Some things got to give. And I feel like I'm very straightforward. I'm very blunt, you know, and I think sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. It's not to be disrespectful, but it's being honest and saying, hey, if you're going to keep doing this and that, you're not going to get to this result. Yeah. You know, and that's what it is.
And you know something, I think that you are pretty enlightened in the fact that you recognize about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, again, you're pointing out some really interesting things I haven't heard before, you know, from a trainer, you know, and I find that really interesting that it's kind of like knowing your strengths and your weaknesses in a way, you know. And by the way, I don't think that you're wrong about being straight with people, because you know what, if you're not, then it causes frustration. I tell people this, and maybe a little, I'm not going to say eloquent way, just a different way. I say to them, I say, look, if I told you that what I'm about to ask you to do as far as a training regimen, and I don't expect people to be, you know, the average person in the gym, like there for fitness. I don't expect them necessarily to have the same kind of work ethic as an athlete, because athletes develop a different kind of work ethic than the general population. That's my opinion. But I said to them, look, if I tell you what I'm going to put you on here is not going to overwhelm you, there is going to be some consistency. And if I tell you that if you don't do this, that you won't achieve results, what choices are you going to make?
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised when you can get somebody, look, if nothing else, Dushawn, what you've done with people by creating that distinction and being straight with them is you're making them pick. You're right. I can't do this. You're right, Dushawn. You know, because if it really meant enough to me, if I had that motivation, I would latch on to you because you're the real deal.
Yeah.
Type thing. Yeah. But I do also understand the frustration behind that. I get so pissed off, like I don't even go anymore. I used to train people for competition. You know, I can't tell you how many people have come to me over the years and say, ooh, I want to be up there on stage. And I get to the point now, I said, you know what, to be honest with you, you don't know this yet, but you probably like the idea a hell of a lot more than the work that you're going to put into this to get up there, because that's the damn truth.
Yeah.
That's what frustrates me.
For sure.
You know? So I get you. I get where you're at with that.
I think the start of 2000 just to piggyback off what you're saying, man, I think the start of 2018, I took 2018 off competing because I wanted to help other competitors.
Yeah.
I want to say at the beginning of the year, I started off with, I want to say 11 guys that wanted to hit the stage, and not one of the guys made it. And they were all hungry. They talked about how much they wanted it, you know, how much they were into it. But once they called me, Sean, the diet is just, or oh man, it's cardio, and they just fall off, and that's more, and it bothers you if you're passionate. Because for me, that's why I say I pick and choose, because it's really not about the money. You know, if I wanted just 100% all about the money, I would have stayed in corrections. We know there's a lot of money in there, but the happiness is not there. You know, there's no gratification there. There's no, you know, there's no satisfaction in that work.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a trainer, I want the same thing. You know, I want to be able to say, this is my client. I helped him or her get to their goals. But when you're starting off, it's like a team. You know, you start off as a team and everybody falls off or they don't make it, then it makes you feel bad, even though your job is only directing. Right. You know, so I know as far as training competitors, that's you know, I really look at that as, you know, I take a chance with that because it's a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of planning.
It really is.
And you know, you get your client plans together. It's a lot of work. And then to fall off from that is like, oh man, come on now.
Seriously, I know. And the last time I worked with somebody was a person that we went all the way till the month before the show.
Oh man.
And they said no. And I said, okay, so riddle me this. Why?
Yeah.
They gave me an answer, Dushawn, that just left a taste in my mouth, and I haven't worked with anybody really since.
Yeah.
They said, so why don't you want to get up there? Because I'm just too afraid to get up on stage.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that, you know? It's like I'm thinking, and this is, mind you, this is like along the way. I go, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
Because what you're saying, as a trainer, you're putting your heart and soul and knowledge into that person to get them up on stage, because they're not only do you want to help them, but they're also a reflection of you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, you know, that turned me off.
Yeah, man. And I go through that all the time. And the one thing I like, and I can be honest about, man, is how my uncle, you know, he's about 20, 25, maybe 25 years older than me, or just the fact that when I look at the generations change in the way it is now, and how social media, it can make people money and stuff like that. So it's influencing things that are, and it's putting things out there that's just not true. You know, honestly, it's just not true.
Yeah, they're not.
And the watered down and all of that. And when I first started competing, you know, or before I started competing, you know, I was turned down by 5 trainers that I knew were competitive competitor trainers. And I, you know, I went to him. This guy Kevin out here, Calices, and I talked to him, and he was like, he did the same thing. He was like, "You sure?" And he was like, "I know you play football and all of that, but you know, this ain't football, man. This is 24/7. This is dieting all day. This is, you know, you don't get to go home. You don't eat spaghetti." And you know, and I was like, "Man, come on now. You don't know me. You know, I got it." But the first time I ever worked with a coach to do a show, I actually did do it. But I had breaking points. I had unbelievable breaking points that I just didn't even imagine was true. Like I would wake up like feeling like, man, why am I doing this? Or I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But just the will inside of me made me like, I'm not quitting. But I questioned myself several times during the prep to walk away. I wanted to walk away several times. It made me realize why. If you didn't have that kind of determination inside, you were definitely going to pull out.
Oh yeah.
Because you're definitely, I don't care where you're at, even to this day, after years of being involved, I still go through that. There's still days I wake up and I'm like, man, should I postpone the show? Should I pull out? I mean, it's, you know, because things happen, you know, like there's deaths that happen. I mean, things happen at work. Things happen with your car.
There's all kinds of obstacles. Those are the obstacles, you know? Yeah. And they're always going to be there. And that's the thing. And, you know, you're so right. The first time that I competed, because I didn't know really what to expect. And, you know, especially down to the very last, you know, when you're out a week and it's about to happen. Yeah. I couldn't stand myself. I mean, I had to go out and walk and just take long walks. I mean, because it was just, so it wasn't that it really got easier as the years went on, but I just learned how to tolerate it in a different way.
Yeah. Yep.
Motivation was always greater than the obstacle, and that's what kept me in the game. And I've told people, if you don't have heart and soul into this thing, you can't do it. You cannot do the sport the right way. You can't.
You can't. You can't.
No
No,
way.
you can't. Yeah, you can't. You have to. I think, and that's what I say too about the new age trainers and people nowadays. And I'm not saying everybody, but the majority of people that I've worked with and I've talked to who call me and DM me for help with these clients, they don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, you shouldn't take on this responsibility if you don't know how to get them all the way to the stage
That's
first.
right.
Because if I believe that if you've never been on a stage, you shouldn't coach somebody to get to the stage.
That's right.
Because psychologically, it's a whole nother beast. And you have to understand that to tell somebody that. I have to tell my clients, like, look,
this is what's going to happen.
Absolutely. You're definitely going to want to quit, though. You're definitely going to want to quit.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
There's not enough good food choices out there. It's going to make you happy, bro.
Not at that point.
No. It's going to be cool in the beginning. You might think, oh, I got this, like we all do.
Yeah.
But that wall's going to come. That inevitable wall hits you. And you have no energy, it seems like everything is bothering you. You ain't got no fats in your body, no libido. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's nothing that can make you happy at certain times,
No.
So you're just surviving almost.
Yeah, you need, and that makes your point. You have to be the one that walks in those shoes first before you can, for those very reasons that you're talking about. And that's what's really irritating me. After all these years of being in the sport, I took time off, and the Vegas I came back into the industry again, and podcasting has been my way. I ask myself at times, it's kind of like a come to Jesus moment in a way. It's like, how can I still be relative in the game that I still love as much today as I did, when I first started? And now at this stage of the game, I don't want to be out in the gym and posing trunks and doing all that. I don't want to do that. I've been there and did that 100 times.
Yeah.
What I have now is hopefully knowledge and experience to pass this on forward. And this is part of the reason why I'm talking to people like yourselves, because, you're one of the, I'm not just giving you this compliment. You're one of the real guys that's out there, because there's so many people that are just not there. I did call somebody out in my own town the other day, because I found out that they were just like working with these people. They charge them all this money.
Yeah.
They work just one dimension, and the person gets no result. I'm thinking, you call yourselves, you make a bad name for for those of us that are the legit trainers,
Yeah.
It's a bad name. And so I'm just frustrated with you on some level. I just, believe it or not, the podcast gives me a way to air myself, my frustration out, because I get to talk to people like yourselves, and you guys get that, Yeah.
And like you said, you remember, I know the Las Vegas, that was a very, very busy weekend, man. That's probably the biggest show I ever did in my life, man. There was a lot of people, just a lot. There was a lot going on.
Oh yeah.
I like that show, man. And I know we talked there for a minute. I know there was a long list of guys talking to you there. And I told you there, man, I respect, because I know you talked about your knowledge, and I seen your page and some of the photos you were showing and stuff. And I seen everything that you were doing and you've been doing. And I told you that you were the guys that I learned from.
Well,
because I've always looked at myself as a student, like you said, a student of the game. I want to learn something valuable that I can teach somebody, because I come from an era of school where sources matter. You got to cite your source, man. I mean, that's what it is. Like, don't come in here and give your opinion unless you can back it up with something.
Right.
And when I first got to college, I used to be mad at teachers. Like, man, how come I got to do 10 references, or how come I got to put 5 references? But it makes sense.
Right.
It makes sense when you really sit back and look at it. The person whose body of work that is that you're talking about, they want the credit for the research that they done,
right,
and the work that they put in to get there.
Yeah.
So when you look at guys like you that has been there, that has been in these gyms, and I have too. When we had Gold gyms out here, but the funny thing about it is every Gold gym in Sacramento shut down because we didn't have enough people paying the membership fees.
Yeah.
So when I was at a Gold's Gym out here, and I was in there day in and day out, and then the dude Louis was one of the owners, was good friends, and he was telling me, Sean, I'm losing the gym. So I was trying to bring more clients in there.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have nobody in there. But you know what? Everybody was hardcore. There was nobody sitting around. There was no cell phones. It was serious. I mean, you was getting critiqued. I got critiqued on things. Hey, you're not doing this, or you need to come this way, or And it made sense, because when you get tired sometimes, and oftentimes you get tired, and you may not be doing things the wrong way. You may be compromising your form.
Right.
Where somebody may
Exactly.
say, hey, man, hey, Sean, you might need to go down, man, because I am exhausted. I am overworking. And it's good decisions, but it wasn't like 24. It wasn't like CalFit, Valley,
Yeah, it's a
businesses. I
whole
mean,
different. It's a whole different environment in there,
it's
man.
a whole different environment. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest. I shoot from the gut. They're soft.
But
You know, the
exactly.
gyms are soft, man.
It's
And
soft.
you know, you drop the weight hard. You know, they tell you to, you know, put it down. It's too loud. And, you know, when you're in that zone, you're in the zone, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're just in that. You know, and it's you get in the zone where there's no one else there but you. That's when you know you're there.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're in the zone where you don't even recognize people in the gym. Your own
Exactly.
brother could be in the gym, you don't see him.
Well, it's like when you were an athlete running on the field. You don't pay attention to the crowd. You're
Oh
just
no, not at all.
you're in the moment, man. You know, similar.
Yeah, not at all.
So anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. But I have to tell you something. You know, first of all, thank you for your compliment.
Yeah, no
Because
problem.
I love what I do, you know, and here's the good news of what I see. I see you as me, you know, 15 or 20 years ago, you know.
Yeah.
I'm here. I still got something like Rocky said in the movie. I got something left in the basement that I want to still talk about, you know. So I'm going to pay this forward, and I'm going to tell you, for all the people that are listening to this podcast, you're the guy that's going to keep carrying the torch for all the legit trainers that are out there, and that's the damn truth, man. I can tell in when I talk to people and trainers, Dushawn, I can tell about you in 3 or 5 minutes if you know what you're talking about. You got your stuff right, man. And I'm really happy and proud that you came on to the show. And listen, is there anything that you would like to promote on our podcast? Because you can if you want to. If you're selling anything or pushing anything, or even you know.
Yeah. So because of my time constraints that I have as far as training, basically my clients wanted me to put together something that can help them when I'm not there. So I put together Shred Time. It's a training guide, and it's on my. And I got the link, and it's online. But if you went to my tag at Dialect Fit on Instagram, there's a link there, and it's for beginners. It's a beginner plan to just teach you all the right steps, the warm-ups, how to do reps, not heavy weight. You stay to where you're building a foundation, and then you move on to where you want to move on to. But it's more of a foundation building program where I'm teaching exactly what I'm talking about now. You're doing 20 reps to this. You're doing 20 reps to that. You're not going anything heavy. You're not doing anything crazy. And then again, once you get to a point where the foundation is built, then you can move on to advanced programs. You won't overstep yourself into an injury.
Yeah. Okay, man. Well, that's hey, listen, you know, you said a word there that I really believe in, foundation. And here's what I tell people all the time. And this is what you and I were talking about, people who want to go too fast. When you build a house, you don't put the roof on first and the walls second and the foundation last. You put the foundation down first. Exactly. It's the same way when it comes to training. So the stuff that's on your is it your Instagram that you're talking about? There's a link there. Okay, that's all good stuff. And you've identified a certain group, the beginners. And you're the best person to go to based on, you know, the stuff that we've talked about today.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it.
When they come see you, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of your podcast.
No, it's awesome. Listen, thank you again for coming on, and maybe we'll cross paths again one day.
Absolutely.
All right, Dushawn. Thank you very much, huh?
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Serious Growth Podcast. For more episodes like the one you just listened to, subscribe to us on your mobile podcast app and leave us a review. If you'd like to reach out, you can find us online at seriousgrowth.com. Until next time, train smart and train hard.